Okay, you guys, I am back. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome to another episode of this Piscean Reports. How's everybody doing? Hopefully, you guys are having a lovely day. For those of you new to my channel, I say welcome aboard. For those of you who are returning, I say welcome back. All right, so we are going to do some more talking, some more spiritual chit chat. So, you guys, I told you guys yesterday that faith is that thing where you guys have learned about faith, and we all know you know how to believe in the Most High, but then, spirituality takes it to that next level. Spirituality is all about the experience of your world, of, what you came here to be and do and what have you. And I told you, I love it. Experience, the universe presents us with these things. And today, I was going to the library and, and first of all, let me say this. Happy birthday, Cancer. Okay, I hope you guys have a wonderful day, And I found out that today in my neck of the woods in San Luis, it is Pride Fest today. And they had little festivities going on downtown, and I had no clue. I literally walked right into it. I was just going to the library, and as I'm walking, I ended up getting detoured. They said, "You're going to have to go down this way, ma'am. You can't go through this way," because I just wanted to go through and go across and go to the library. And they said, "Nope, if you're going to go this way, you got to pay $10." And we wasn't going to do that. I'm going to walk. So, they guided me to go down and around. And as I do that, I come across this man. There was a lot of people down there, which I found really interesting. Why would you do that? Like why? That's a whole nother level of irritation and whatever, Let people be what they gonna be. Just let them do what they gonna do. It blew my mind that here's this Pride Fest thing, this little thing going on, and right outside of the festivities, I kept running into all these religious groups. There was one who had this huge flag that said Jesus is King, and they're all walking and they're saying all this negative stuff to these people, and they were all around this festivity, which I found irritating, and not because I and a lot of people think I'm part of LGBTQ, and I'm not. I'm just, it's one thing about being it and being curious, but that's a whole nother thing. I was irritated because I don't think you have no right to do that. To judge someone else, to interrupt someone else's festivities. If someone, let's switch it around. Let's say that there was some Christian Day festivity, and they wanted to enjoy their little Christian, do their little thing. And right outside your festivities was a bunch of pride people waving flags and telling you that you need to change and you need to stop it and this, that, and the other thing. And you people are the, saying these, they were going in hard. You people are the ruination of this country and this and the other thing, and you're going to hell. And imagine had that been switched. Everybody's entitled to do their thing. Let these people do their thing. They weren't bothering anybody. It's like a big square thing, And this is totally getting off track. I'm just saying. I just thought about it and I found it a little irritating because that's not right. It's not right. It's not fair. It's not necessary. You're not going to change these people's opinions. So what is the point of doing that? What is the point of trying to make people who are just trying to enjoy themselves and have a good time, making them feel like they're evil and they're going to hell and they're dirty and the whole nine, It was just no point to it. It was no point to it. And I was really irritated by that. I don't understand that. What is the point of that? You're not going to change these people's minds with that. It's mean-spirited. It's just totally and completely unnecessary, but whatever. So that's my thoughts on that. I'm leading to something else, but it just, that as I was going to the library, I heard him saying it, and I'm going up the steps, and I turned around and I look. And I see those people in there, just people in there enjoying themselves, having a good time. There's food, there's music. They're doing these things with the fans over there, and they're having fun. And there's a little bouncy castle, and it's just a beautiful thing. It's just a beautiful thing. It's just some people who just want to have a good time. They just want to get together and have some fun. And outside of their fun is this hatred. Is this ugliness, and it made no sense to me. But which is why I'm going to tell you what happened. So as I'm walking, I was detoured, and I'm walking, and I come up on this man, and he's got a shirt on that says something about Jesus, and I see where this is going, and I'm like, that's cool, because you came to the right one. You know what I'm saying? You want to talk to me about religion? Let's go, right? And so and so, he's telling me, he's asking me, do I believe in God and Jesus? I said, I absolutely do, and this is what I mean. This is the experience. The universe is like, this is what I mean. The universe is going to present you with situations and things, and we had this very interesting back and forth conversation. I let him say all the things and about how the Bible, have you read the Bible? And the Bible is the way and the truth and the light, and you can't get into heaven unless you know the Bible. And I'm looking at him the whole time as he's saying all these things, and he said, so what do you think? And I said, well, he said, do you believe in God? I said, well, yes, I do, but I need you to know I'm spiritual. And he said, well, that's good. I'm spiritual too. And I said, no, honey, you're religious. I'm spiritual. And he's like, well, I don't see the difference. And I said, well, allow me to explain it. And I did, I started, and I told him about how, because here's the thing, when he said that the Bible, the only way you're going to get into heaven is if you read the Bible and you follow the Bible and the whole nine. And I said, and I've told you guys, I've argued this case with you guys too when I first started my spirituality, and I sure fed it to him, right? I said, okay, armed with that knowledge, you feel that the only way to get to heaven is by, through Jesus and the Bible. And I said, okay. And I said, the world is a big place, because he said that we are all created in the image of God. That's one of the first things he said. And I said, I agree. And then I said, now, armed with that knowledge, I said, are you saying those who are Muslim, those who are Hindu, those who are Buddhist, you're going to tell me that the God who created all of us in his image, this same God is going to say, well, these people and these people and these people don't believe in me, so they're going to go to hell. And he said yes. He said yes. This is the problem that I have with Christianity. If I told you guys, y'all know my spiritual thoughts, my beliefs, my experiences, right? And if I said to you guys, if you don't believe the way I believe, you're going to go to hell, you would have looked at me like I was crazy. But it's okay to be Christian and tell other people, if you don't believe how we believe, you're going to hell. And I said that to him. I said, that's not true. I said, that's impossible. I said, why would a God who loves us all so much, why? Explain to me why he would throw most of us, send most of us to the fiery pits of hell because we don't read that book. And we went back and forth, and he was talking about that. Hold on. Let me see. Oh, yeah. I'm gonna say that. Yeah, but that's insane. That is absolutely insane. And I told him, and I said, I told you. I said, he said, you say you believe in God. I said, I absolutely do. I said, let me tell you something. I said, I had a spiritual awakening. And I told him, and I said, and when I had my awakening, God did not say, I have awakened you. Now go get that Bible. I said, I believe God will meet you where you're at. Okay, and it doesn't matter if you are wherever God can reach you is where he's going to meet you. And I told him, I said, for me, it was spirituality. I said, I can even take it a step further and tell you that he came to me and was speaking to me through tarot. My guides, my angels. And I said, I believe in guides and I believe in angels. I said, do you not believe in angels? He said, yes, I do. But you could not change this man's mind for nothing. You could not. Every time I said something, he kept saying that the only way I was going to get into the kingdom of heaven and Jesus is going to be the ruler and you can only go through heaven through the Bible. And I said to him, I said, I just don't believe that. I said, who wrote, here's my thing. I said, we don't know who wrote the Bible, and he said, well, the Bible was written before the time of Jesus Christ, and the Bible was foretelling his coming, and then it happened, and then there was this and there was that. And so I went home and I asked myself, I said, when was the Bible written? And this is what came up. It says the Bible wasn't written at once or in a single draft. It's a compilation of 66 separate books. 66. It's a compilation of 66 separate books. And in parentheses, it says 80 plus. It's not even 66. In some people, it says in some traditions, it's 80 plus separate books that written by dozens of authors over a span of roughly 1,500 years. And I thought about that. And I said, so let me get this straight. It wasn't one person who wrote this book. We're talking 66 people, over 66 authors, in some cases 80, over a span of 1,500 years that came up with this, with these stories, if you will. Essentially, stories from time, over time. Here's some stories from different authors. And so one day we've got this, someone says, let's take all of the stories that we have, came up with over the years and create this one book. And then say, now this is the way and the truth and the light. This, if you don't pay attention to this compilation of 66 plus authors who came together and created this book, if you don't believe in this, you're going to go to hell. And I'm like, that's insane. That is insane. Over 1,500 years. Man. And it started with this. It started with the time of Moses in 1400 BC. And I said to myself, let's say I and Mr. Summers and several other people, we all get together and I come up with, I tell them, I want to put these stories about my spiritual experiences in this book. And someone says, I want to put my experiences in this book, and I'm going to put mine in this book, and we're going to put this in this book, and then we're going to create this one little thing and say, this is the way and the truth and the light. And if you guys don't believe this, you're going to hell. You would have thought I had lost my mind. You would have said she's crazy. So it's blowing my mind that this person wants me to feel like this compilation from 66 authors that created this book. And I'm now supposed to say, this is the way and the truth and the light. And and that's just ridiculous. That's ridiculous. I said you're completely discounting, because when he was telling me about how the Bible, I said, sir, let me just say this, and he told me his name, and um he asked me mine, and so he said, I can see that you are on a path of knowledge. He said, I see the book in your hand. And he said, I do feel that you are on a pathway to knowledge. I do that. He said, just listening to you talk, and the questions that you're posing, and the things that you are standing up for. He said that. I can see that. And he said, but I want to give you this. And he gives me this, the New Testament. Right? He said, I'm going to give you this book of Psalms. And he put his name in it and his phone number. He says, I think you are definitely on the road to believing in God. He said, but I just want you to read this. And then he put his name and his number in there. He said, if you have any questions, I want you to, don't hesitate to call me. You know, he's a wonderful man. I will say he's a wonderful man, because he said he said, I'm not getting any money for doing this. I'm just standing out here and I'm just sharing the word. He said he's got a wife and 5 beautiful children. So this was not an evil man. But as he's discussing, as we're discussing books, because I said, I don't think it's fair for you to assume that this book is the right book, is the only book. I said, this is a big old world. We have all these different continents. I said, you have to know, I said, do you not agree with me that every continent is aware that there is something greater than ourselves? Everyone. And he said, yeah. And I said, and everyone has created something, a compilation, if you will, like your Bible. They have something set in place, that they follow. And then I said, how can you say that yours is more right and theirs is more wrong? How can you say that? That's crazy. They believe in the same way you do. So how is theirs wrong and yours is right? You see what I'm saying? And we went back and forth like this, because that makes no sense. I told him, when I was talking about spirituality, I told him that I had my awakening and I had spiritual experiences. And I told him, and I said, and I believe in my heart that there is no one pathway to God. There's not. And I said, there are many pathways. And I said, and nobody's is more right or more wrong than the other. And then he said, you sound like you believe in Hinduism. That was his response. He said, you sound like, the Hindus believe that way. Because we talked about getting into heaven. I told him, I said, I believe that we have come here to experience things. And I talked about how, if someone dies, when you go to the other side, when you transition back to the other side, he doesn't feel that you don't just die and then you just automatically get to go back and then have a life review, and then they determine whether or not you are to, where you're going, based off of, I told him, I said, I feel like when you get to the other side there, because I said, how that whole phrase about he who dies with the most toys wins. I said, that's absolutely untrue. I said, well, I believe when we pass away, when we transition, we are going to have a review. And I said, and those on the other side are going to ask us, they're not going to say, how much money did you make and how much power did you have and how much control and what did you do? They're going to say, what did you learn? And I said, and based off of everything that you learned, they will, you will determine, how far you go, what your level of ascension on the other side. I said, I feel that that's what we are here for. We come here to experience things, and then we go back, and then they say, okay, well, what did you learn? Well, I learned this and I learned that and the other thing. Very good. Okay, you have earned an ascension. You are ascending. You have learned the lessons that you were required to learn. Okay, and you have now ascended. I said, because ascended Master Jesus is perfect. He's perfect, right? He is the ultimate ascended master. Well, there are other ascended masters. I don't want to say the ultimate, but he is the ascended master, right? He is a ascended master. And I said, and I believe all of us are just trying to acquire that level of ascension, that level of mastery of life, that level of knowledge of life, right? And when I said that, he said, you sound like you might believe in Hinduism. That is how the Hindus believe. And I thought to myself, well, if that's the case, they're on the right path. I don't have a problem with that. That makes sense to me. I agree with it, right? So we went back and forth like this. We literally went back and forth. And when he gave me this book, and this is what I want to say to you guys, me sitting up here telling you, because I feel like this. There are probably going to be some people who are thinking that that I don't like the Bible, or I'm trying to downgrade Christianity or something like that, or I'm disrespecting the Bible and this and that and the belief, and I'm not. And I wanted to say this, and I said this, I thought about this as I was riding home, and I said, man, if anybody even thinks that I'm trying to disrespect Christianity or that I'm trying to disrespect the Bible, let me tell you something. When this man gave me this book, there was a big puddle standing next to this man. I could have just politely accepted it and then just dropped it in the puddle and walked away. That would have been disrespect. I could have walked down to the corner and dropped it in the trash can and kept it moving. That would have been a level of disrespect. I could have waited until I got to the library and just left it there or got to the library and chucked it or stuck it in between some books and walked away, but I didn't do that. I respect this man. I said, listen, I respect your that you feel this way, because let me tell you something. There was nothing that I could say that was going to make this man think anything less than, if you're not reading the Bible, you are going to hell. He was full on that. And I kept saying, I said that makes no sense. That makes no sense. Armed with what you told me, that God created all of us in his image. And this is a big world, and there's a lot of continents, and a lot of people have a lot of different beliefs. And when we talked about Muslim, he said, you know what? He said, because he gave the Muslim faith as an example of being wrong. He said, I will give you, and he said, and I'll prove it. And I said, do so. And he talked about, he said, well, consider those guys who flew the plane on 9/11 into the building. He said they flew the plane into the building believing that when they do this, they're going to go to heaven and they're going to get, all these virgins. And he said, and they're wrong. And I said, well, I will say this. Those guys were wrong. They were wrong. However, not every Muslim is wrong. Not every Muslim believes that. Not every Muslim feels that you should do something wrong. I said, what happened, what these men did was wrong. Bottom line, that was wrong. And the fact that they believed that, we're gonna get all these virgins, we're gonna have all this greatness and all that, that's for them and God to deal with, But do I believe that all Muslim faith is wrong? No, I don't. They're entitled to believe how they want to believe. It's not my belief, but it doesn't mean that they're not entitled to believe it. I'm not going to sit here and say, boy, those poor Muslims, they're all going to go to hell, because they're not. Those Hindus over there, boy, they're really hellbound. No, they're not. Look at all those Buddhists over there. Jesus Christ. Oh, they are. I just feel so sorry for them. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't either. They're not going to go to hell. I honestly believe just that concept, dude. Don't do that. Don't sit up here and tell me that this book is the way and the truth and the light. And if I don't believe this book, I'm going to go to hell. That's the problem that I have with Christianity. The stuffing of it down your throat. If you don't believe this, you're going to hell. Okay, I had an awakening. God showed up in my life. My angels, my guides, they put my feet on the path of knowledge. But not once did they ever tell me to go pick up a Bible. Not once in any day since I've had my awakening in my spirit, not one time have I ever felt driven or called to pick up the Bible. God meets us where we're at. And for those of you who are spiritual, those of you who understand, who, or at least not even understand, but just who are of the same belief that I am, we came into this lifetime to be of purpose. We're here to make a difference in this world. And then we're going to go back. I just do not believe that we're just supposed to sit around and just wait for something magical to happen. I take issue with that because, like I said, 66 authors came up with these stories. You see what I'm saying? And they got people literally sitting on their hands. Not just under me personally, I just feel like why are we sitting here? Why are we? You are the difference maker. I have given proof to that. There are many people who have came and transitioned into this world. Many famous people who transitioned into this world to make a world of difference, a profound difference. Those who transitioned, to as far as technology. Someone transitioned into this world, and Henry Ford and the inventing the car, and the Wright brothers inventing the airplane. You see what I'm saying? These amazing people. And then people who have transitioned since then. Let's take that great idea and let's take it to the next level. Let's now do this. Now we went from being these little tiny airplanes to being able to seat an entire, dozens of people. And fly them from one end of the country to the other. You don't have to get on a boat and take 6 weeks to get to the other side of the world. You can get on a plane now and zoom, and you're there. These amazing souls who came in to make that difference in this world. That is what we're here to do. We came in to make a difference in some way. And I gave the example of and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And your thing may not be super profound. I gave the example of the Beatles. John's mom, George's mom, Paul's mom, Ringo's mom just happened to give birth to these 4 young lads. And these young lads had a purpose to come together. The way the universe brought these 4 lads together, and they changed the world with their music. My son, I gave birth to Elvis Presley, and God damn, oh my God. Take it, like I said, there's technology. Those who come into this world and they've created, immunizations so that we are not crippled. We're not, those who invented the cure for smallpox and malaria and all these amazing things, all these amazing souls. This is what I'm saying. We are here. We have transitioned into this world to do something. And not everybody's purpose is as big as the other, but you're here for a reason. You're here for a reason. It's just a matter of allowing yourself to accept that and then getting with your guides and angels and saying, you know what, show me. Let's go. Let's do this. And then allow experience to take you there. Allow experience to move you, to introduce you to people, to put you in the right places at the right time. And because I read in Mr. Summers' book that, and there's some things that I don't agree on that he does. So I don't want everybody to think that I'm all about this book. There's some things that I absolutely agree with, but there's only one thing. And he says there's no heaven and no hell. And that's probably where we differ. And that's fine. That's fine. But do I believe a lot of other things? Yes, I do. But that's neither here nor there. This is about me, and I'm sharing my beliefs with you guys. We absolutely have transitioned in this world to make a difference. You did, in some way. I gave birth to my daughter, who gave birth to my grandson. Maybe my grandson ends up doing something great. You know, I fulfilled my purpose to have her. If I hadn't had her, she would never have had him. He would have never fulfilled this great need in the world. It literally could be something as small as that. You guys are going to give birth to somebody who gives birth to someone else who does something amazing. You know, or you transitioned into this world to make a difference. Those who are in the NBA, in the MLB, and the NFL, you know, soccer, the soccer league, NHL, yeah, you know, transitioned into this world to become these great, fantastic athletes to make a difference in the lives of children. You know, you don't know. You don't know what all you came here to do. We're not supposed to know. We're only supposed to just be and do and let it happen. Let it be. Let everything be what it needs to be. We came to do and be, and we're going to do and be. You know? But that definitely blew my mind. That blew my mind. That experience that the universe gave, I was like, ooh, you don't want to come to me, babe. You don't want to do me. Let's talk. You want to talk religion? Okay, babe, let's go. Let's do this. Like, I want you to. I wanted him to. And we went back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And at the end of the day, we just had to agree to just disagree. You know, his final word, he said, well, I agree that you are, just listening to you talk, that you definitely are on some spiritual path. You know, he said, you're on the path of knowledge. So he said, I just listened to you talk. I believe you are on the path of knowledge. I see the book in your hand. He said, well, but why you got that book? Let me give you another book. And he gave me it. And okay. I'm going to be polite and I'm going to accept, and, you know, if I feel driven or drawn to it, I suppose I would, but I haven't as of yet, because I went to the library and I read and I jotted some things down. And as I was reading and getting ready to jot some things down, I said, why don't you talk about the experience you just had? Share that, you know, that why do they need to, Christians have such a ride or die belief that if you don't read this, you're going to hell. And I don't believe that. I just do not believe that. There's no way that a loving God would bring you here to say, well, you didn't pick up that book, so you're going to hell. That's insane. That makes no sense. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. But you know, and like I said, these same people saw fit to try to ruin these people's good time. They just wanted to go over there and and have a nice day. You know, it's like a little festival or a nice weekend. Let's just get together as a people. You know, it would be like, and that's the thing, and that's the other thing that's how I feel about that. If everybody got together, if there was a festival, if there was a straight festival, we're going to have a festival for straight people. And then outside of your lovely little festival was all these LGBTQ people, and they're waving flags. They're telling you guys you're going to hell, and you guys are this, and you think you're that, and this, that, and the other thing, and da-da-da-da-da, just ruining your time, your good time. Like, that was so wrong, so profoundly wrong. You're not going to change these people's minds. They're not going to hell. This is what they choose. This is just what they do in their bedroom. Has nothing to do with their beliefs. Nothing. And for somebody to sit up there and wave a flag and shout at them and tell them they're going to hell is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Anyway. All right, I'm going to leave this here. But I just wanted to share that with you guys, you know. Are you like me? You know, do you not believe, do you not see the amazingness of this world, of this life? Those of you who are here, you're here for a reason. Like, really embrace that. Embrace it. I don't know why you're here. I don't know what you're here to do. It is not for me to say. And that was the other thing I was going to tell you guys. I started to talk about that yesterday and I didn't. I forgot. I kind of veered off and I forgot. The reason I told you guys I don't talk about I tended to stop talking about spirituality for a minute because I was sharing my experience and I learned, reading the book, it says that and I agree, I can see that you shouldn't share your experience because your experience is going to be different from someone else's experience. You know what I mean? And by that, I mean like I don't want, it's like when I was telling everybody, okay, I had my awakening and then this happened and then this happened and this happened. And then I started thinking about that and I said, you probably shouldn't do that because that's how it happened for you. They're going to have an awakening. If they have an awakening, where the universe, where their guides, where their angels may send them in a completely different direction. Their experience, because this is how they met me. They met me where I was at. We're not going to get her through the church. She's a different one. We're going to have to come through her from a different experience, And that's what happened. So that is why I did not discuss or tend not to discuss my spiritual experiences. I'll give the belief, but I won't give the experiences anymore because, like I said, you've got everybody's different. Everybody's experience in this universe, we're all going to experience different things because we all have different missions, soul missions, right? So that is why I kind of stopped talking. I was like, you know what, they got a point. I don't want to ruin you guys' experience. You know what I mean? So I said, don't tell them about what you did or what happened with yours and say that's going to happen to them because this is where the universe met me in my experience and where they're going to meet you guys and yours is going to be maybe different. I'm going to you're going to have an awakening, but I'm going to guide you towards this church, or you're going to have an awakening. I'm going to guide you towards Hinduism. I'm going to guide you towards Buddhism. I'm going to guide you towards, because, this is, this is where you're at, someone can have an awakening, or they call it in the church a calling, and their experiences, we're going to get you guys through the church. So everybody's different, right? But anyway, so yeah, man, that was heavy. The back and forth between me and that one was pretty heavy. And I think that you guys don't be afraid to stand on yours. That's the message there. That's the other message. Don't be afraid to stand on yours, okay? Because not everybody is all about the Bible. And you're not going to go to hell if you don't. God loves you. He loves you. If you never picked up a Bible, He will still love you. Okay, don't let anyone tell you, well, I didn't pick up a Bible, so you're going to go to hell. No, you're not. And it's wrong to say that. It's wrong. I was trying to look for the word for that. And I almost said, what's the word? There's a level of not necessarily arrogance, but I don't know the word. What's the word I'm looking for? But to tell someone that if you don't pick up this book right here, you're going to hell, bottom line. And I'm like, that's not true. That's not true. When I had my awakening, God didn't tell me to go pick up a Bible. He didn't. And He has been working with me and He has been guiding me. And I love it. My experiences with my guides and my angels, I love. So don't let anybody stand on yours. Stand on yours. Okay? Don't let nobody. All right. I'm like, no, don't do that. Don't do. It's wrong. It's wrong. It's not hypocrisy. There's a word I'm looking for. It's just wrong. It's wrong to force. It's like they're forcing you to believe that is it. If you're not doing that, you're gonna die, and it's mean. It's mean. You know, it's as mean as them telling those people who are trying to enjoy themselves that you're going to go to hell because you sleep with another woman or you sleep with a man and you're dressing like this and you're. Leave them people alone. Let them be them. Okay? They not coming at you telling you you're mean and you're wrong for sleeping. You're a man and you're sleeping with a woman and that's wrong. You know, they're not doing you. Leave them alone. What someone does in a bed has nothing to do with who they are in their heart. That's what I don't understand. What I don't think people understand. I don't give a damn what you do in your bed. Who are you as a person? Who are you on a soul level? That is the only thing that should matter. That's it. You know? But anyway, all right, I'm going to go. I will talk to you guys later, I guess. I don't think I will try to keep, a little more spiritual. But like I said, that was spiritual. It was definitely, that exchange was very, it taught, it just proved what I've been saying, that's wrong. That's wrong. You don't force a person. Don't force. If you want somebody to believe it, that's fine, but don't force it on. Don't tell them if you don't do this, you're going to go to hell and you're going to go to, that's, anyway, I'm going to go. I'm not trying to dog Christianity. Like I said, if I was going to do that, I would have chucked the book. I respect you have a right to believe it. Just don't force it on me. Don't make someone else feel like they're gonna go to hell if they don't. But anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and go, you guys. I will talk to you next time on the next video. Y'all have a great rest of your day. I'll talk to you later. Bye.